Yo, what's going on, yo? I'm JB Hoops, and today I've got my final big board of the 2023 draft cycle. There was quite a surprising amount of guys who pulled out of the draft, so this draft isn't as deep as it once was, but there's still a ton of talent all throughout, especially towards the top. So I've put together my top 60 prospects into 6 tiers. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and let's get right into it with some honorable mentions. So as a lot of guys pulled out of the draft, I'll have just 39 honorable mentions. The guys highlighted in green are my 61 through 70th ranked prospects, and the others are guys I think are draftable or guys that should be fighting for two-way spots, but my big board 5.0 is just a top 60. Alright, now let's just get right into tier 6 with my prospects ranked 60 through 41. Starting off tier 6 at 60, I have Craig Porter Jr. The 6'2 senior out of Wichita State is a really cool prospect who does everything on the floor, and I love his feel and intensity on the defensive end. He's a ridiculous shot blocking guard, a good playmaker, can play with or without the ball, and despite him being a bit older and undersized, he plays bigger than he is, and I definitely think he should at least get looks in the late second round. At 59, I have Drew Timme, the 6'10 senior out of Gonzaga. Timmy's a pretty underrated prospect because he's been dominating college for years and seems a fair bit older than 22, but he's an insanely skilled big with better measurables than I expected. He's got soft touch, is a great passer, and he's just dominant inside. He'll likely never be a plus defender, but he's just too skilled to not make an impact in the pros, so I have Drew Timme at 59. Just ahead of him at 58, I have Adama Sanogo, the 6'8 junior out of UConn. Sanogo is quite similar with his awesome touch, strong frame and post scoring, and he also has his limitations defensively, but his energy on the boards, huge frame, and potential to space the floor put him at 58. At 57, I have Nikos Rokavopoulos, the 6'8 swingman out of Greece. He's a good off-ball scorer and shooting specialist with excellent size, great touch, and a rapid release. He's also a solid rebounder and connector, and should be a solid stash pick in the late second round. At 56, I have D'Moi Hodge, the 6'4 senior out of Missouri. I really like D'Moi Hodge's game. He's a dog on defense, has excellent hands, and can really shoot the ball. He is quite old at nearly 25, and he has some things to clean up as a help defender, but his skill set and readiness should intrigue a lot of teams around the league. So I have D'Moi Hodge at 56. Ahead of him at 55, I have JUSTYN MUTTS, the 6'7 senior out of Virginia Tech. MUTTS is a very interesting prospect with some outlier skills and tools. He's an awesome passer, finding cutters and shooters out of the post, from the elbow, short roll, or even handling and creating. And he's a good rebounder and finisher as well. Defensively, he's got a great motor, an insane 7'3 wingspan, and good instincts. And he's just one of those if he shoots it guys that could definitely become a key rotation piece. So I have JUSTYN MUTTS at 55. Next up at 54, I have Jalen Clark, the 6'5 junior out of UCLA. Clark's another guy who's incredible defensively with great foot speed, hands, and strength, but will have to improve offensively to stay on the floor. He also hurt his Achilles near the end of the year, so teams might be a bit hesitant, but I'm absolutely confident in his defense, so if he can just get by offensively, attacking closeouts, cutting, and hitting open threes, he'll be a mainstay in rotations for years. At 53, I have Amari Moore, the 6'6 senior out of San Jose State. Moore's a super versatile wing with great tools and really impressive passing feel. He's solid defensively and a really smooth athlete and slasher that had to create a lot of his own looks, so the percentages probably don't do him justice. So I have Amari Moore coming in at 53. Next at 52, I have Vincent Valerio Badon, the 6'10 forward out of Choplon KC. He's a mobile forward with great size and a smooth shooting stroke. I haven't watched a ton of him, but I like what I've seen so far, and the numbers look great. He can put the ball on the floor, pass, and score from anywhere, so I have him at 52. At 51, I have Jaime Jaquez Jr., the 6'7 senior out of UCLA. Jaquez is another skilled upperclassman who just gets it done. He's a really gritty scorer, can handle, drive, pass, shoot, and make an impact defensively, but will really have to adapt to the NBA game. His poor foot speed and burst limit him on both ends of the floor, but he's a really smart player with good size and skill, and could definitely contribute in the league, so I have Jaime Jaquez Jr. at 51. Coming in at 50, I have Tosan Awoma, the 6'8 senior out of Princeton. Tosan's another really unique prospect as an undersized big who doesn't really shoot it and isn't really a rim protector either, but he could transition to a forward role or a small ball 5 who acts as a hub. Given his outstanding feel and passing ability, he's also a great driver with a good handle and nice touch, and can guard 3 through 5 and rebound the ball, so Wembanyama will be a very interesting guy to watch as he could make an impact very quickly. Next up at 49, I have Mouhamed Gueye, the 6'11 sophomore out of Washington State. Gueye's a super mobile big with a high degree of skill. He can put the ball on the floor, drive, shoot it, and he competes defensively. And he's also developed into a pretty impressive passer. So in a weaker big man class, I wouldn't be surprised if he was taken in the early second round. At 48, I have Mike Miles Jr., the 6'2 guard out of TCU. Miles is a small guard but really just gets it done. He creates, can score from anywhere, and is a really impressive passer. His size limits him for sure, but Miles is strong, quick, and crafty, so I have him ranked at 48. Andre Jackson Jr. comes in at 47. The 6'7 junior out of UConn is a very fun prospect who in the right context will make a huge impact with his passing, energy, and defensive playmaking. I'm not confident in the shot at all and he'll probably always struggle to score, but he's definitely worth taking a swing on in the second round. So I have Ajax at 47. Ahead of him at 46, I have Ricky Council IV, the 6'6 wing out of Arkansas. I really like Council's upside as an off-ball scorer and tertiary creator. He's explosive, great at attacking closeouts, can defend a few positions, and has good touch inside. The jumper is very rough, but if it ever comes along, he'll be a first rounder in redrafts for sure. So I have Ricky Council IV at 46. Next up at 45, I have Toumani Camara, the 6'8 senior out of Dayton. Camara is one of the few prospects that you can legitimately claim can guard 1 through 5. He's awesome on switches, moves extremely well in space, and flips his hips quickly. He also has a clean jumper and is a great finisher inside, so I can definitely see him contributing very quickly. Just ahead of him at 44, I have JALEN SLAWSON, the 6'8 senior out of Furman. SLAWSON's a strong forward with a ton of versatility on both ends. He can really pass and finish inside and has improved a lot as a shooter, and his two-way skill set is perfect for the modern NBA, so I have JALEN SLAWSON at 44. At 43, I have Rayon Rupert, the 6'7 wing out of the New Zealand Breakers. I get the appeal with Rupert, and with a lot of investment, he could develop into a very valuable player, given his tools, age, and skill set. But he's still extremely raw, and I'm just a lot more confident in other guys producing, whilst possessing similar or higher upsides. So I don't really see him as a first round guy like most, but rather a long-term project I'd take a swing on in the second round. Next up at 42, I have Ben Sheppard, the 6'6 wing out of Belmont. Sheppard's a great shooter with a super quick release. He can score from all 3 levels, make quick decisions, and hold his own defensively, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was picked as high as the late first. At the top of tier 6 at 41, I have the 6'8 freshman out of Tennessee, Julian Phillips. Phillips probably could have used another year as he is very raw offensively, but he had some big scoring nights and intriguing offensive flashes, whilst playing fantastic on-ball defense. He has some things to clean up, isn't really a shooter or a threat on the ball, but he has unteachable tools and a ton of room for growth, so I have Julian Phillips at the top of tier 6 at 41. Moving on to tier 5 with my prospects ranked 40 through 26. Starting tier 5 off at 40, I have Tristan Vukcevic, the 7-foot big man out of Partizan. He's a skilled big who can do a bit of everything offensively. He's mobile, stretches the floor, and he can finish and handle a bit. He has some work to do defensively, but I can see him contributing pretty quickly as a stretch big off the bench, as it looks like he won't be stashed. So I have Tristan Vukcevic at 40. Next up at 39, I have Trayce Jackson-Davis, the 6'9 senior out of Indiana. TJD was one of the best players in college basketball. He's quick, athletic, skilled, and makes an impact on both ends of the floor. He is a bit undersized and a non-shooter, but he just produces and is ready to play at the NBA level, so I have TJD at 39. At 38, I have Kobe Brown, the 6'8 senior out of Missouri. Brown's a well-rounded physical forward and a high-field connector that consistently makes the right plays. He's a really tough scorer and has drastically improved as a shooter. And with his skill set, toughness, and versatility, Brown should be a priority pickup for teams in the early second round. At 37, I have James NNAJI, the 6'10 big man out of Barcelona. NNAJI's very raw, but he's a big time athlete with a huge frame at just 18 years old. He finishes strong around the basket, and is an imposing shot blocker with excellent mobility, and in the right spot could be a quality starting center in the future, so I wouldn't be shocked to see NNAJI get his name called in the late first round. Ahead of him at 36, I have Olivier Maxence Prosper, the 6'8 junior out of Marquette. Omax has great size and length, a solid handle, he can shoot the three, defend multiple positions, and he's an excellent cutter. He's just a super versatile player and could be a Swiss Army knife type guy for whoever picks him up. His feel is pretty poor and he'll have to be more consistent on both ends, but with his skill set, he'll garner a ton of interest starting in the 20s. Next up at 35, I have Julian STRAWTHER, the 6'7 wing out of Gonzaga. Julian STRAWTHER is probably one of the safest late first, early second bets in the class. He's a great shooter with soft touch and he competes defensively and on the boards. He'll need to improve as a passer and decision maker and be more consistent on defense, but he's NBA ready, so I have Julian STRAWTHER at 35. There's probably another mini gap here, but at 34 I have KRIS Murray, the 6'9 junior out of Iowa. Obviously KRIS will draw comparisons to his twin brother, but I think there are some pretty significant differences. He's a solid scorer with an old school game, but I think he'll have to adjust a bit more than others to the NBA style. But KRIS Murray is as solid as they come, so should get looks in the latter part of the first round regardless. Next up at 33, I have AMARI Bailey, the 6'4 freshman out of UCLA. Bailey's a smooth scorer, a great athlete, and a very strong finisher. AMARI finished the season off really well and showed a lot defensively, sliding with ball handlers, flipping his hips, and being disruptive. His decision making and shooting has a ways to go, but I think in general he's a pretty underrated prospect that with some ironing out could become a very impactful NBA player. At 32, I have Terquavion Smith, the 6'4 sophomore out of NC State. Turk still has a lot of things he needs to work on to earn minutes in the league, but he's an NBA caliber shot creator with incredibly deep range, with the ability to play on or off the ball. And I liked how he progressed as a passer and driver. He'll have to put on size and continue to work on his shot selection, defense, and finishing, but I do really like his upside, so I have Terquavion Smith at 32. Next up at 31, I have Emoni Bates, the 6'9 sophomore out of Eastern Michigan. Bates is a super intriguing prospect who I really want to see succeed. He's an ultra talented shooter and shot maker with significant questions regarding his physical limitations and ability to create easy looks. But I believe he can tone down his wild shots and lock into good habits and really make an impact. I feel he's a bit underrated as a passer and help defender and should be passable in time, but he will need to land in the right spot. But shot makers like Emoni are rare, so I still have him at 31. Next up at 30, I have Sidy Cissoko, the 6'7 wing out of the G League Ignite. I love Sidy's upside as an athletic wing who can facilitate, finish inside, and wreak havoc defensively. He's improved as a shooter, can really handle the ball, and projects as a guy who can guard 2 through 4. He is quite raw and super foul prone, but with investment and reps, Cissoko could develop into a really good two-way player. Just ahead of him at 29, I have Marcus Sasser, the 6'2 senior out of Houston. I'm not typically a fan of undersized older guards, but Marcus Sasser is just elite. He's an excellent shooter and shot creator, a really good point of attack defender with a 6'7 wingspan. He's improved as a passer and his touch and finishing craft is really solid. Marcus Sasser is just a winner and could really help out a competitive team, so that's why I have him at 29. Jordan Walsh comes in at 28. The 6'7 Arkansas freshman is just an awesome prospect. He's a dog on defense with an insane 7'2 wingspan, along with the technique, instincts, and IQ to be elite on that end. He struggled to produce offensively and is a poor shooter at this point, but Walsh has good feel and will make an impact as a defensive specialist, whilst his offensive game continues to develop. So I have Jordan Walsh at 28. Next up at 27, I have JAYLEN HOOD-SCHIFINO, the 6'5 freshman out of Indiana. I'm not as high as most on JHS, but the pick and roll craft, shot making, and size are good, and the flashes of a lotto guy were definitely there, but the inconsistency, finishing struggles, and iffy decision making are big questions, and ultimately I just prefer a few other league guards over him, so I have JHS at 27. At the top of tier 5 at 26, I have the 6'5 sophomore and UConn national champion, Jordan Hawkins. He's an excellent shooter in every way imaginable, he's a lead-off movement and spotting up. He had some nice moments defensively and made some impressive passing reads. For me personally, the lotto hype is a bit much, but I do see him being a really solid 4th or 5th starter, so I have Jordan Hawkins at the top of tier 5 at 26. Now on to tier 4 with my prospects ranked 25 through 8. At 25, I have Colby Jones, the 6'6 junior out of Xavier. Jones is a skilled wing that can score on all 3 levels and make an impact defensively. He's efficient from all over the floor, he has great passing feel, and his skill set fits in perfectly on almost every team. So I have Colby Jones starting off tier 4 at 25. Next up at 24, I have Noah Clowney, the 6'10 freshman out of Alabama. Clowney's a very intriguing talent with awesome tools and instincts. He protects the rim, moves well in space, takes good angles, and should be able to hold his own on switches. Offensively, he's coordinated and skilled with solid touch and can hit, catch, and shoot threes. He'll probably be a longer term project, but he could become a very important piece with his size and versatility on both ends, so I have Noah Clowney at 24. Next up at 23, I have Nick Smith Jr., the 6'5 freshman out of Arkansas. Nick Smith Jr. had a very rough freshman season, struggling with injury and consistency, but the flashes of a high-end shooter and shot maker were impressive. He'll have to put on size as his lack of strength limits what he can do on both ends, and his decision making can be pretty shaky, but I'm still a fan of his upside, so I have Nick Smith Jr. at 23. Now at 22, I have Maxwell Lewis, the 6'7 sophomore out of Pepperdine. Lewis is a very interesting prospect as he started off incredibly well and struggled over the second half of the season. But his athleticism, shooting versatility, and self-creation upside should still intrigue teams in the mid-first round. He's got great size at 6'7 with a 7-foot wingspan, can handle, pass, and score, and he has the tools to be an impactful defender, although he's far from that at the moment. But in saying that, I still think he's a lotto talent. But in a very stacked class, Max Lewis falls to 22 on my final board. Brandon Podziemski comes in at 21. The 6'5 sophomore out of Santa Clara is a super well-rounded offensive guard with 3-level scoring ability. He's a really incredible shooter who can shoot off the catch and off the dribble. He's crafty, a great passer, and a competitive defender and rebounder. The athletic concerns are valid, but his polish and production easily puts him in this range, so I have Brandon Podziemski clocking in at 20. Just ahead of him at 20, I have Bilal Coulibaly, the 6'7 wing out of the Metropolitans 92. Coulibaly is a little raw, but there were some incredible flashes on both ends of the floor. He's a great athlete with a ridiculous 7'3 wingspan, he has a great motor, and is one of the best wing defenders in the class, so will make an impact on that end straight away. The jump shot, handle, and decision making have a ways to go, but his movement ability and flashes are special, so I have Bilal Coulibaly at 20. Next up at 19, I have Kobe Bufkin, the 6'5 sophomore out of Michigan. Bufkin's a tremendous driver and finisher, he gets real low in his drives, and is a great live dribble passer to go along with it. The pull-up shooting and 3-ball is coming along, and he can defend both guard spots, and whilst he needs to get stronger, I think he can be a really effective second or third handler and creator. He could go lotto for sure, but on this board I have Kobe Bufkin at 19. At 18, I have Leonard Miller, the 6'10 forward out of the G League Ignite. Miller's decision to skip last year's draft and join the Ignite really worked out, and he improved in almost every area of the game. He's huge, incredibly mobile, and has elite touch. The shot still needs work, and his feel and decision making isn't great, but he performed against pros and has unreal upside, so I have Leonard Miller coming in at 18. Next up at 17, I have Derek Lively II, the 7'1 freshman out of Duke. Lively will have to be more of a threat to score in the league, but he will still get a lot of easy buckets around the rim, playing in NBA spacing and alongside great playmakers. His passing was a real standout, and he's an elite defensive prospect, with his mobility and incredible shot blocking timing and instincts. He's also shown he can shoot it in the past, and I like his form. He'll need coaching and teammates to set him up, but I'm very confident he could start in the league, so I have Derek Lively II at 17. Next up at 16, I have Grady Dick, the 6'7 freshman out of Kansas. Grady's an amazing shooter with a ton of shot versatility and a good connecting passer who just makes winning plays. He has some work to do with his defensive technique and awareness and is limited as a self-creator, but Dick's skill set as a sniper, connector, and team defender is very rare and valuable, so he could definitely go as high as the top 10, but for me is the 16th ranked guy in the class. Just edging him out for the 15th spot, I have Jet Howard, the 6'8 freshman out of Michigan. Jet and Grady are really neck and neck for me, and it'll come down to what teams value more. But Jet's an excellent shooter and one of the best movement shooters in the class, and his handle and counters give him a slight edge. He will have to improve as a finisher and defender, but he's a big wing with creation abilities and underrated passing feel, so I have Jet Howard at 15. Next up at 14, I have Anthony Black, the 6'7 freshman out of Arkansas. AB's a really enticing prospect as a jumbo initiator with excellent vision and defensive versatility, but his poor jumper and touch limit him as a driver and half-court creator, so I'm not sure he'll function as purely a lead guard, but more as a wing who plays on both ends and operates as a secondary handler. But I do really like Anthony Black's upside, but on this board he lands at 14. Ahead of him at 13, I have Dariq Whitehead, the 6'7 freshman out of Duke. Dariq had a really rough freshman season with multiple injuries and limited minutes, and he ended up having to get a second surgery on his foot, which will hopefully enable him to physically and athletically return to his best. Whitehead still excelled as a shooter and consistently improved as a passer and defender, but if he regains that burst and explosion he had pre-Duke, he'll be a steal for sure. Next up at 12, I have Taylor Hendricks, the 6'9 freshman out of UCF. Hendricks is one of the best 3-and-D guys in the class at 6'9" with a 7'1" wingspan, so will have a ton of suitors in the lottery. His shot is pure, he can attack closeouts, play in the pick and roll, and has soft touch on his floaters. I don't see him being much of a creator, but as an off-ball big who makes an impact on both ends, Taylor Hendricks is going to be a super valuable player. Just in front of him at 11, I have GG Jackson II, the 6'9 South Carolina freshman. GG looks like he has a very wide range, but I personally love his upside. He had a difficult role in high load on a bad team as the youngest guy in the class, and was still able to showcase his unreal handle and shot creation upside at 6'9", as well as his solid 3-point shot and off-ball smarts. He was very inconsistent and had some really rough nights, so GG probably won't be a high minute guy early on, but in the right development system, I truly believe he can become a star. At 10, I have the 6'4 Kentucky guard, Cason Wallace. I'm a huge fan of Cason's game. He's a special defensive prospect who still has a lot of room to grow on both ends. He can shoot the ball, set up his teammates, finish inside and create a bit, and he's going to fit in perfectly with whoever picks him up, so I have Cason Wallace at 10. Next up at 9, I have Bryce Sensabaugh, the 6'6 Ohio State freshman. Bryce isn't the most well-rounded prospect and he has some work to do on his ancillary skills, but his ability to put the ball in the cup is extraordinary. His shot making and shooting is special, he's got phenomenal touch, is super strong, and has improved a bit as a passer. He can struggle to separate and rely on tough shot making, and he has had some injury issues with his knees, but Bryce Sensabaugh is a special shooter and scorer, and that's why he's in my top 10. At the top of tier 4 at 8, I have Keyonte George, the 6'4 freshman out of Baylor. George is another top tier shooter and shot maker with some playmaking chops. He had some rough moments defensively and couldn't always create space, but he's a super versatile shooter and pull-up scorer. I really buy his long-term NBA upside, and I just think he has stardom written all over him. So I have Keyonte George at the top of tier 4 and 8th overall. Now on to tier 3 with my prospects ranked 7 through 4. At 7, I have Jarace Walker, the 6'8 freshman out of Houston. Jarace is a really cool prospect who does everything for his team on both ends. He can drain spot up threes, attack the glass, facilitate, play either role in the pick and roll, and create a bit off the dribble. He had some awesome flashes, but he'll have to be more assertive and use his frame to get to his spots. And he's also one of the best defensive prospects in the class and has a pretty good chance of being a top 5 pick. But on my Big Board 5.0, I have Jarace Walker at 7. Next up at 6, I have Brandon Miller, the 6'9 freshman out of Alabama. Brandon Miller is a really talented prospect and had an incredible freshman season at Bama, but he definitely still has his struggles and areas for improvement. He's a phenomenal shooter with a ton of versatility, a really impressive passer and handler, and defensively he's rock solid, but he has issues creating advantages and separating, which makes it difficult to envision him as a primary. But as a complementary third or possibly second guy, I really like Brandon Miller's outlook, so I have Brandon Miller at 6 on my Big Board 5.0. At 5, I have Ausar Thompson, the 6'7 wing out of the Overtime Elite. Ausar was excellent for the City Reapers this year, winning a championship, MVP, and Finals MVP. The athleticism pops, and he's one of the best defensive prospects in the class, and I love his handle. His jumper is also consistently improved and isn't too bad mechanically. He doesn't possess the burst to consistently create advantages like Amen does, so is more suited to a secondary role, but he's an underrated passer, an awesome off-ball scorer, and an elite defensive prospect, so that's why I have Ausar Thompson in my top 5. At the top of tier 3 at 4, I have Cam Whitmore, the 6'7 freshman out of Villanova. In my opinion, Cam Whitmore is the best college prospect in the draft. He's physically dominant, quick, explosive and flexible, and will get a ton of easy buckets just bullying and moving people out of his way. Whitmore also drastically improved as a shooter. He hit 40% of his catch and shoot threes and had some intriguing handling and creation flashes. Defensively, he was pretty inconsistent, but had some really incredible rotations and on-ball possessions. So I think he can be a plus pretty quickly with some refinement. So I have Cam Whitmore at the top of tier 3 and 4th overall. Now moving on to tier 2 with my 2nd and 3rd ranked guys. Coming in at 3, I have Thompson, the 6'7" guard at the Overtime Elite. Thompson is a phenomenal prospect with scary upside. He's an all-time great athlete and the best playmaker in the draft with great feel, craft and creativity. His jumper needs significant alterations, but his touch is solid and he had a few smooth looking jumpers, and he's also shown the willingness to adjust and try different things. Can also be great on the defensive end with his tools and instincts, and with a lot of reps, good coaching and hard work, I completely believe Thompson is destined for stardom. Now at 2, I have Henderson, the 6'4" guard out of the G League Ignite. Scoot is one of the best point guard prospects in a long time. He didn't have a great season with a few injuries and off nights, but he's proven he can be dominant against high level competition. He's an elite playmaker, an incredible athlete, and a fiery competitor. Scoot will tear defenses up with his burst, decision making and pull up shooting, and I'm confident the efficiency in shooting will come around, as the Ignite team was terribly spaced. He recently measured in at a workout at just under 6'4" in shoes. He's built, an awesome athlete, and I really think he can be an MVP candidate type player. So in my opinion, Scoot Henderson should be the clear pick for the Hornets at 2. Moving on to tier 1, obviously everyone knows who it is. At 1, I have Victor Wembanyama, the 7'5" big man out of the Mets 92. Wemby is a generational talent and he's going to make the Spurs must-watch TV for years to come. He does absolutely everything, is ridiculously skilled and has put on some size. And Vic's tools, feel, skill and work ethic give him the potential to become one of the all-time greats. He won the Pro A MVP, Depoy, and led his team to the finals against one of the best teams in Europe. I'm sure Pop will be great for him, and so will TIMME and David Robinson, and I cannot wait to see him on an NBA floor, as he really is a once-in-a-lifetime type of talent. Alright, and that wraps up my final big board of the 2023 draft cycle. I had a lot of fun making videos this year, and I hope you all check them out. I'll have a few more videos before the draft, and then a mock on the day of the draft, and I'll keep up the content post-draft as well. I really appreciate all the support. We're nearly at 2k subs. So yeah, thanks for all that. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, and comment down below. Anyway, that's all I got. JB Hoops, out.